He pooped in her bed? Story time. So I have this friend and we're gonna name her Casey. But one day I was at Casey's house with her and her boyfriend. And we were just kind of hanging out and chilling in her room, right? Well, her boyfriend was laying in her bed and oh my god, he kept farting the entire time. And it smelled so bad, like rotten eggs and belly button juice. It was disgusting. So I look at him and I'm like, are you okay? And her boyfriend was like, nah, my stomach really hurts. Like, I'm real gassy. And then Casey was like, well, go to the bathroom because it's nasty. And then her boyfriend was like, I'm fine now. I let all the gas out. I promise I won't fart again. And then Casey was like, if you fart again in my bed, I'm punching you in the stomach. So then a couple minutes go by and we think we're in the clear, but then he toots again. So then Casey gets up, walks over to her boyfriend, she punches him in the stomach, and he lets out the loudest fart I've ever heard in my life. And his face was like, uh-oh. And we were like, what? He got up and we saw poop on the back of his shorts and on the bed. I got caught stealing. Story time. One time I was in the dollar store with my mom and she told me I wasn't allowed to get anything because earlier I was misbehaving. But while we were walking around, I seen this really cool rainbow pen and it had all the colors in one pen. Like, where else am I gonna find that? So I begged her and begged her and begged her, but unfortunately she still said no. But I was gonna get that pen, okay? So when she turned around, I took the pen and put it in the back of my pants and I held it in between my cheeks. And I walked around that store so uncomfortable for like 10 whole minutes. Finally, we get to the register and everything is going so perfectly. The guy rings us up and we start to walk out the store. Unfortunately, my cheeks were not strong enough and they lost grip of the pen and it slides out of my pants. And when it hits the floor, the guy at the cash register notices and he's like, hey, something fell out of your pants, bud. And I knew what he was talking about, but I just pretended that I didn't. And I was like, what is it? My mom looked down at that pen and back at me and then she started taking off her belt.
This is the story of how I broke a window and I didn't get in trouble. When we were in class, the teacher stepped out of the room to go to the bathroom. And this one kid in my grade named, let's call him Jacob. He was being annoying and taunting everyone. So I got tired of it and I pushed him so hard that he fell and hit his head on the window. And he got knocked unconscious and he didn't remember what happened. So everyone in the class was tired of him. So they didn't tell the teacher that it was me that did it, and we told her that he fell out of his seat and hit his head on the window, and I ended up getting away with it, and Jacob recovered and he was fine the next day. But yeah,
I was in class on Zoom. I wanted to go to sleep, honestly, because like when I'm tired, I go to sleep. I end up falling asleep and then class ends and everyone starts leaving the class except me, because I was like in a whole other universe at this point. I was dreaming, I was flying. At this point, me and the teacher are alone in the call. This is the best part. Then the teacher starts talking to me and he's like, Samantha, wake up. Samantha, please. Samantha, you have another class. He woke me up, but I was half awake, so I didn't really know what was going on. So I thought it was my brother waking me up, and I straight up yelled. I was like, shut up, you fat booger. And so then I realized, oh shit, I just called my teacher a fat booger. And now he scheduled a parent conference. I'm going on Monday, so.
This is a story time of a girl named Jay. Their name isn't actually Jay, but I'm just giving them a little nickname. And this story time is sent by one of my fans, and that fan wanted to be mentioned in the video, so she's in the caption. So me and Jay were really good friends ever since kindergarten. It was 4th grade, and something was a little off. She started becoming really toxic since I was closer friends to her cousin than herself. But Jay's cousin wasn't in the same class as mine, but Jay was in the same class as me. So we did get a little closer, and we sat next to each other, and one day she invited me to a sleepover. And that day I happened to feel really sick. So I went home. At the time we were watching a movie, and I felt really, really sick. So I got to go home, and Jay texted me stuff like, wow, why didn't you just stay the night? And I guess she was really mad about that because ever since then she's been spreading rumors about me.
Story time of how I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me with my cousin. My boyfriend and I had been together for 2.5 years. His family loved me and my family loved him, and they expected us to get married. Well, last year when COVID started, we were actually in different countries, so we didn't see each other for 3 months. During those 3 months, we FaceTimed 4 times a day, and we were always texting. He happened to be quarantining in our hometown, so both of our families were in the same place. place. I was quarantined in a different country. One day my cousin calls me and tells me that she met a really nice guy on a dating website. I was so happy for her because she had had bad luck with guys. Every single week, her and I would catch up on the phone and she would tell me how much she liked this guy and how amazing their dates were and how amazing he was in bed, how sweet and considerate he was. I couldn't be happier for her. Well, when I finally get back home, my boyfriend is super distant and cold. So naturally, I called my cousin and complained. She told me to give him space. She said I should just leave him alone. And so like an idiot, I did leave him alone. One day my cousin calls me and tells me to come over for dinner. When I got there, my boyfriend's car was parked in her garage. I thought it was just her nice way of trying to get us to talk. So I walk in on my cousin and my boyfriend doing the dirty on her couch. They quickly get up from the couch and get dressed. Of course, by that time, I'm in hysterics. I'm crying and yelling. My boyfriend instantly got on his knees and begged me for forgiveness. I went up to my cousin and I punched her right in the face. She wasn't expecting that. And I said, well, this is the guy that you've been dating, isn't it? She said yes, and that she was just trying to find the best way to tell me. And so she just thought the best way to tell me was to get me to walk in on her and him doing the dirty. I punched her again. My boyfriend came to her rescue though. Instantly went into hero mode, which made me even angrier, so I punched him too. I stormed out of her house and went back to my house. Well, I told my parents everything. And my dad went over to my uncle's house, my cousin's dad, and he told him everything. She was about to turn 19, so he took away her phone and her car. And I get a phone call from my Part 3. So my lying, cheating ex calls me and explains to me why he actually slept with my cousin. He said that he was so lonely and that he didn't know what to do, and that the closest thing to me he could find was my cousin. Right, as if that was any comfort to me. He said I should be grateful that I didn't cheat with someone else. I told him he had totally betrayed my trust and that I could never ever trust him again. And then he confessed that she was pregnant and that his parents wanted them to get married. He said he just wanted to give me a heads up. Then he said that we could still be together but just not tell anyone, so basically he wanted me to be his side piece. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of his mouth. It was like I didn't know this man. Guess what I did? I recorded the entire conversation. So I went straight to my cousin and I let her listen to it. She was so shocked. She couldn't believe that he would offer to have me as a side chick. Well, I also let my uncle listen to it. He went to my ex's house and beat him up. Honestly, that made me sad, but he deserved it. They now have a baby and he's gained 50 pounds. Trust your instincts, girl, and always record your conversations.
So y'all remember how PE teachers used to make you run the mile in elementary school? Well boy, do I have a fucking story for you. So I was out on the field running my second lap and my stomach started hurting because my fucking mom decided to buy McDonald's for breakfast. So I asked the teacher if I could go to the bathroom and that bitch ass Trump gorilla looking motherfucker said no, so I just kept running and prayed to Michael Jackson that it would go away. So I'm on my third lap and I have to fart. And on God I pulled a Nessa Barrett. So much shit came out that I could literally make a 4-course meal with it. And a chocolate fountain for dessert. I was about to fucking cry. Obviously I wasn't gonna tell my teacher that I shit myself, so I just said I felt like I was gonna throw up. So I go to the clinic literally holding my hands on my ass so nobody would see my shit. When I get to the clinic the nurse tells me to sit down, but in my head I'm like, bitch, if I sit down your chair is gonna look like the chocolate river from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I just lean on the wall until my mom comes to pick me up. When I stand up off the wall to go to the bathroom, my shit is smeared on the wall and the nurse looks at it and she's like, what the fuck? Was that you? And I was like, ew, hell no, and I run to the bathroom and my whole ass had shit on it, and when my mom picked me up I started crying because she asked what smelled like dog shit and she thought she stepped in something and I had to tell her it was my ass.
Here's a story time that happened in 2nd grade. So my teacher never allowed fidget spinners, and my friend always brought one to school because that was the only thing that helped us focus. But every time she saw it, she would take it, and she would never return it even though she said she was. So me and my friend, I'm gonna call her Jalen, and my other friend, I'm gonna name her Caitlin. So me, Jalen, and Caitlin all had this plan to sneak into school and take our fidget spinners. So at recess, we had this plan spot behind the tree, and we would all talk about it. This girl even didn't eat her lunch because her teacher took away her fidget spinner. Anyway, we all had this plan to sneak in school and break the windows, go in class and steal all our fidget spinners and give them back to the owners. But every time we talk about it, we'd get caught by this one kid named Nathan, and he would all go tell the teacher. But the teacher didn't care, obviously, because she knew we weren't going to do it. Like for part 2. Okay, part 2 of the fidget spinners. Okay, so as you know, Nathan was going to tell on us, and the teacher obviously didn't believe us because we were little kids and he knew we wouldn't do that. So we all had a plan that the next day we would all meet up at the playground in the school at 6 p.m. So that day, no one showed up. I didn't even show up. And the next day at school, we all got mad at each other for not showing up when we all said we showed up, but you guys didn't. And I didn't show up. My friend didn't show up. None of us showed up. But we just lied about showing up. So we just gave up and we just never did it again because we knew we would never get our fidget spinners. Tell me if you want more.
Okay, so one time in class, our teacher told us that we were gonna have a new student. Me and my best friend at the time looked at each other and whispered, what if he is cute? And while he was walking in, me and my best friend's mouths dropped. He was stunning. My teacher told him to sit next to my best friend, and so he did, and I looked at her and texted her to make a move. He kept staring at me and my best friend got mad. She asked him for his number, and he said no. I felt bad for her cause after school he texted me and asked to hang out. I said yes, but not to tell my best friend. Like for a part 2. Here's part 2. So after he texted me, I told him not to tell my best friend. I snuck out later that day and walked to his house. I knocked on his door and my best friend answered the door. She asked what I was doing and I told her everything. She asked me why I was lying and then the boy showed up in his driveway. I was really confused, but it turns out she snuck into his house to murder him. She is still in jail to this day.
I was 9. I would play Roblox with my friend and we would spend all our Robuxes buying hot avatars so we would get boyfriends. We also looked rich AF. My friend was jealous I had a rich boyfriend and took him off me, so I was like, bitch, who do you think you are? The next day at school she said that the boy was 14 but he told me he was 12. I thought it was weird but didn't say anything. Like a week later she said that they were meeting at the park but she said I wasn't allowed to tell anyone. I didn't give a shit what she said. I started crying at lunch and the teacher asked what was wrong, so I told her. She told the police and he was a 46-year-old man. We are now 15 and she refuses to talk to me.